Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Buffalo TalkCenter episode Rasmus Don Lane. I am Don. With me today is Cal, and we are going to discuss now that the Sabres are on their Olympic break, what they can do after it. Because right now, Cal, there is a roster trade free, so they can't really make any moves at this point. Yarmo can't. But when everything starts up again after the Olympics are over, it's gonna be a little hectic.
Yeah, pure chaos. I think the Sabres got 4 to 5 games before the trade deadline, which again sounds crazy because it's the beginning of February and the trade deadline is not till March 6th. But yeah, with that Olympic break, it kind of makes things into a panic period once the Olympics end. They got to do some stuff, though. I think you would agree with me in saying that, right? Like this current team cannot be trusted the rest of the way. I think there's some patches that need to be filled.
Right. Well, I think those patches got highlighted, especially with the absence of Zach Benson. I don't know what the record without Benson in the lineup versus out of the lineup is, but it's a pretty stark difference. I believe the Sabres are 4-8-2 when there's no Benny the Butcher in. So it just underscores how important he is. And to all those Short King haters out there, you're wrong. You're wrong.
I don't know if I could attest to that one being, over the 6 foot benchmark myself, but no, I mean, you're right, right? Like Zach Benson is one of those guys that I would say reminds me of Alex Tuck when he first got here, right? Like kind of heart and soul of the team, not necessarily on the point sheet. He gets a lot of assists, but goals not so much. But night and day difference when he's out there, right? Just the physicality. A lot of people say he reminds them of a Brad Marchand type player, where he's kind of just a pest out there, right? Kind of slowly aggravating the other team to the point of complete frustration by the end of the game. So yeah, no Zach Benson, no Josh Norris for the last couple of weeks, which has kind of been tough to watch as well. And then we've had some other minor injuries here or there on the defensive core that has really shaken things up and has forced Jacob Bryson in the lineup and Zach Metza every single night. So I think that's where they need to start, right? Maybe one more defender, maybe a guy who's good at faceoffs or power plays, and then you got to fix the goaltending situation as well.
Well, let's start off with the defenseman situation. Um, what's the kind of profile you're looking for in a new bottom pair guy? I think that's what we're looking
Yeah,
for.
there's been some rumors, right? The Sabres are looking for a beefier defenseman, somebody that kind of can bring the physicality. And it's not like, you look at that last pairing and say Kesselring is banged up or hurt. It's Bryson and Metza. And that being your third, pairing on defense is not the greatest because usually the third pairing, you just want a guy who's good at defense. You don't need someone that's going to, be good, a good skater or a good guy in the offensive zone. You want two guys who are mid-tier defenders that can just kind of play it safe until you get your big guns back out there. Dahlin, Samuelson, Power, Byram. You can't have Metza and Bryson out there at the end of games trying to clutch it out. It's not gonna work. And we saw that especially with Jacob Bryson in that last game against Pittsburgh. He was responsible for 2 of the 3 goals and early on in that game, and you just cannot sustain that. So I think you need a physical guy, somebody who's going to be able to hit guys along the corners and win puck battles, because right now they're not winning the puck battles, and their recent losses have been because of puck possession, and they're unable to win the puck battles at the end of games.
Yeah, but let me play devil's advocate here for a
Hmm.
second. We're just looking at some of the Sabres' flaws. They've had a tough week. A lot of it can be chalked up to injuries. Much of what we saw early in the season showed up again here in the last week. The theory is everyone gets back healthy after this Olympic break. Norris apparently will be back. Benson will be back. Why do we need to make any changes? The full healthy team worked just fine.
See, and that's going to be the narrative, right? And that's the narrative among a lot of Sabres fans, but it's because, right, we're seeing a winning team, and this is a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 14 years. People are scared to change this team. People are scared to change this core. You can't be scared, though, because right now, I don't know if you'd agree with this, but say this playoff started tomorrow, the team's fully healthy. I don't think they're good enough to make a deep run in the playoffs because faceoffs and that power play. You cannot bring that power play into the playoffs. Say a playoff game against Carolina, for example, you get 2 power plays, you got to score on one of them because you're not going to win that game just regulation versus regulation. You have to take advantage of the special teams. This power play, it's you can't even blame coaching at this point. It's the guys on the power play, right? It's just you have talented guys out there, but they're not good power play guys. They can't handle the puck. They can't, keep the puck in deep. we see these trusted guys all over the league, right? Alex Ovechkin, one of the best power play players, right? Wicked shot, but he can be trusted with the puck too. He has the puck in the corner. He's not a Tage Thompson where he's standing there, one timer, one timer. If it's not right, Tage Thompson, you could say, is a liability on the power play when he's not shooting the puck, because when the puck's on his stick, he's looking around frantically. He's trying to go around two guys. Alex Tuch throwing the puck in, trying to feed a pass through four defenders. It's not going to work, right? These guys are not, great on the power play, and they're very good on special teams the other way, right? Like an Alex Tuch, Darlene, very good on the penalty kill. They need a power play specialist, and I think that's the biggest get for me, aside from faceoffs, because those are the two areas where they rank very low in the league.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw my opinion in here because, of course, it was unsolicited, so it needs to be heard. Um, I agree with you
Okay.
100%. I believe that the Sabres also do need some help on the power play. It's been killing them a lot of games recently. I mean, you look at that Pittsburgh game. What did they go? 1 for 4? You go 2 for 4,
Yeah.
changes the dynamics of everything. Suddenly you're not down 4-2. You're down 4-3. You still have a beaten shot. You go back to the Montreal game. How many times did Dobush happen to make a huge save on the power play? And you turn around and look at Montreal. They went, I think, 2 for 3 that night.
Yeah.
Them and Detroit are power play merchants. But that's part of why those teams have a better record, have a better point percentage, and more points than the Sabres. Their special teams help win at games. And earlier in the season, not so much recently, the penalty kill has been doing great for the Sabres. Now, I think they've been getting kind of worn down given how many dumb penalties this team takes. But they've been trying to help them win games, but you can't expect your penalty kill to score a goal a game. It just isn't going to happen. So I agree with you. Power play needs to get their stuff together. But I don't know if it's just, you mentioned that it's not necessarily a coaching thing. Eventually, you have to shoulder some of the blame onto the
Mhm.
players. The strategy just isn't working either. Seth Appert's been doing the same thing over and over and over again. As good as this team has been over the last 2 months, Seth Appert is not pulling his weight. So I don't know, even if you bring in a specialist, quote unquote, that he would change anything because Seth Appert, it'll just be like when Bo Byram first came to Buffalo. He's screaming, tapping his stick, looking around on the power play like, what are we doing? What is this? This is dog crap. So I just don't know how effective a new player could be in that sense.
Yeah, my only thing to say to that is like Seth Appert, like right, like I'm not here saying Seth Appert is good in any means on the power play, right? Like this system is atrocious. It's drop pass, it's skate through four guys. They never get it set up in the zone. But at what point does a star player just say, "All right, I'm taking it myself. I'm getting it set up myself"? They don't have someone to do that, right? Like once in a while, Darlene will go coast to coast, but they're being held back, like you said, by the coaching, and they're trying to play systematically and play a perfect power play, and in doing so they can't even get the puck set up once usually on the power play. We saw against Pittsburgh the other night that one power play they had, I don't think they got offensive zone time once. It was
No.
blue line clear. At what point does a star player just say, all right, we're doing it this way, we're getting it set up and I'm getting a shot on it? Like you just need that power play specialist, like I'm saying, to just take control. Screw what the coaching saying, let me get it set up in the corner, throw the puck to the net. You got one extra guy out there, it's going to work, right? We can't have our only chances on the power play be a point shot with 20 seconds to go that gets blocked. And that's
Yeah.
what it's been the last couple of weeks. I would even go as far to say I have more offensive faith in our penalty kill than our power play. It seems our penalty kill each game gets 1, 2-on-1 or partial breakaway. The power play doesn't get nearly as many chances. I mean, I might be crazy for saying that, but how many times do we see McLeod or Tuck, usually late in the shift so it doesn't, turn into anything, but go on a breakaway or a 2-on-1? Those two are demons out there.
Yeah, so I think what you're saying is Marty Wilford should be coach of the year over Seth
Yeah,
Appert and Lindy Ruff.
I
That's
think
what I
so.
think you're saying. Yeah, no, again, I agree with you. Um, like I said, yeah, and like you said too, our penalty kill is far more lethal than our power play wished it could be. But with that in mind, what are some targets? Let's start on special teams. I know we were on defensemen a couple minutes ago, but we got sidetracked. We'll get back to that, folks. But let's start off with the forwards in the top nine. First off, how could Jarmo Kekalainen make some moves to open up some cap space? Because believe it or not, a Terry Pegula Sabres team is right up to it in terms of salary cap.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to believe, right? Because we always complain about the salary cap they don't spend, and all of a sudden, after this Josh Doan extension, it's looking like in the future it's going to be tough, especially if you want to re-sign Alex Tuck. So, ding, 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 there's your guy right there. Alex Tuck could potentially be one of the guys they not maybe trade one for one for a guy like that, but trade and then bring someone else in on another trade to make the money work to get a guy that specializes in one of those areas. The issue with Alex talking, I'm sure we could do a whole video on him if we should keep him or not, because there's so many pros with Alex Tuck, right? Chemistry guy, penalty kills really good. Once in a while, he'll go on stretches where he's one of the best offensive players on the team, and then he'll kind of go invisible, as I know you've noted on some live streams recently, where you just can't really see him, being a long term part of this team. But he could be a guy that you look to offload the goaltending situation. UPL, maybe you're paying him a little bit more than the other two. You cannot continue this season with three goaltenders. And I know they've all been injured, so it's kind of worked out. But what NHL team has three goaltenders the entire year? It doesn't happen. It doesn't work. That cannot happen. Money wise, it doesn't make sense. So you gotta do something there. Even if it's Colton Ellis on waivers, that saves a little bit of money. You go to defensemen. I don't really see anyone that you could get rid of. I mean, Owen Power was on the trade market maybe early on in the year, but I don't see how you move on from him at this point in the season. No one else really screams out to me. So it's going to be tough money wise. Do you have any ideas how they could do that? I mean,
Yeah, so one of the first ideas I would either trade, waive, or just cut Colton Ellis.
mhm.
I like him as a prospect, but like you said, once everyone is healthy post the Olympic break, I'm rolling with UPO and Alex Lyon. No more Chaos Colton. No offense to him, but his rebound control is just
Yeah.
you can't predict it. So if you could get something on the market, that'd be great. Maybe a fifth round pick, sixth round pick. Trade him to Edmonton, St. Louis. I don't care. But Colton Ellis, if you were to drop any of the three goalies, I'm not getting rid of UPO. He has been a heck of a lot better than Colton this season, believe it or not, even though he had a rough beginning. But yeah, I'm getting rid of Colton's one way or the other. But that doesn't really open up too much cap space. So then I'm looking to the forwards. First off, Jordan Greenway, we
Yep.
don't know his future. This is an easy one. Move him to LTIR. That opens up
Mhm.
about $4 or $3.5 million in cap space. So there's a little bit of an opening there. And then in terms of trade chips, I'm not dangling away Alex Tuck. He is
Mhm.
too crucial to this team right now. I don't care if they're still wide apart in contract negotiations, as was reported by Darren Drager just a few days ago. He can be a rental. That's fine. But he is too integral to this locker room to even consider trading away. So I am probably moving Jack Quinn. Not a very controversial pick. Jack Quinn just doesn't do enough on the walls for me. He gets a lot of points. He's looked a lot better this season than last, and that's how you can pitch it in trade talks. But do I see him as an integral piece to this core going into the future? Not really. I view him as more of a Casey Middlestat-esque resurgent kind of player. He's just not strong enough. And in a playoff series when you go into 7 games against Montreal or Detroit, I don't trust Jack Quinn on the ice. And we saw good reason why we shouldn't in that overtime against Tampa just a few nights ago. He and Peyton Krebs were awful in overtime. They were
Why
just
are they even out there, right? Like
because we don't
it
have
made
anyone
no
else.
sense.
We
Oh,
don't have.
it's terrible.
Oh
Jack Quinn, I'll ask you this real quick.
yeah,
Jack Quinn, who is taking Jack Quinn's salary? Remember, he was just extended. What was it, 4 million a year?
yeah.
Does anyone want, like? I feel like you'd have to retain a little bit or give picks. I'm okay giving away picks, whatever. But if you have to retain salary, I think it's still worth it, right? Like Jack Quinn is just he has a good shot. He's good in shootouts, but other than that, with a team like the Sabres that relies on the puck along the boards, and um, you can't just plug him on a top line like say a Victor Olofsson, for example, right? Where he's kind of useless here. Maybe he goes to a really good team and he's a kind of can just do his thing and stand in the corner and take a shot. But do you see anyone right now, any team that would need a guy like Jacqueline that would be willing to pay him that money?
There are a few teams that I think of off the top. Nashville is the first one. They're looking to get younger. They have a couple of pieces over there. I And don't yell at me, Sabres fans, but Ryan O'Reilly still
Hmm.
exists. I don't know if he'd be
Yep.
interested in coming back to Buffalo, but in terms of another need we could talk about is face-offs for this team. They still suck at it.
Yep.
Ryan O'Reilly could cure that in a heartbeat, and he'd give you a lot more depth so that you wouldn't have to rely on Josh Norris all the time. In terms of center depth, with Norris healthy, that would create a logjam. I don't know how you'd sort that out. So maybe not him specifically from that team, but maybe you go after one of their defensemen, maybe a Brady Shea or a yeah, Brady Shea's the only one I can think of right now because they just got Nick Hague, so
Mm,
wouldn't go after him. But Jack Quinn to maybe Nashville. I'd also maybe Anaheim could take a swing at him. They're in contention. They're looking to maybe get a little younger. Frank Vitrano's not been working out over there, and the problem with Frank Vitrano though is that he's just kind of an older Jack Quinn. So again, I don't know. I don't have Puckpedia in front of me right now, so I'm
yeah.
not dancing through all these trades, but I'm just kind of spitballing team ideas. Seattle is another team. Maybe you could get a little younger, bring in Shane Wright on a flyer.
Mm,
You never know. Vancouver, again, another team that I could see taking on. Those teams have a little bit of cap space, more so Seattle and Vancouver. So those are teams that I think could be decent fits for Jack Quinn. I don't know the packages you can make. Maybe we do like a whole walk through a mock trade deadline for the
mm.
Sabres. Maybe that's a good idea. But those are teams that jump off the top of my head in terms of potential fits.
Yeah, I think those are solid. I would add the Kings maybe. I know they're an older, slower team. Maybe they'd be like, okay, maybe this guy could give us a little bit of speed, kind of fill in the areas we're missing. Vegas, the Sabres love to trade with Vegas. Maybe they do another one and move because Vegas, a lot of overtime losses keeping them alive, but not the team they once were, right? Like they need to make some moves at the deadline
Yeah,
even though they're in a very easy division, they're going to make the playoffs, but they're going to get destroyed if they face one of those big three teams in the West if they don't make moves. So I think those two could be an option. Let's switch over to defense here.
right.
Do you see the Sabres making that trade for maybe a bigger defender, a third pairing defender, or do you even see them maybe trading one of the big four to get multiple pieces to fill out the roster?
I don't think they touch the top four, so Power, Dahlin, Byram, they're all safe.
Yeah.
Samuelson, St. Sammy, gosh, Norris, Kennedy, Matthias Samuelson.
The goat. Yeah.
How could you think of trading Samuelson right now? You just can't. Norris candidate right there. I don't think Yarmo touches any of those guys. None of them have really been the problem. Even Byram. Now, Byram did not have a great game against Pittsburgh. He went back to his old ways of just chucking it up the walls and turning it over and immediately getting a goal scored on them. His zone exits are not great still, but I wouldn't touch any of them. You mentioned earlier in this episode about how Yarmo's looking to make his bottom of the D a little beefier. Gosh, that sounded
Mhm.
wrong out of context. That
Yeah.
that could be bad. Don't
Yeah,
clip that.
bigger frame defenseman, a little more physicality instead of the
Yeah,
smaller prototype.
we just need a bigger guy to. No, no, I was gonna say something crazy. No, no, no. I'm just gonna jump into names. Nah, screw this. Screw this. Trying to describe this guy. So, to open up a roster spot, easiest move again would be to send Zach Metza down to Rochester. He's been admirable for this team for a while, but I don't trust him, like you said, going into a playoffs. I trust him more than Bryson, but
Yep.
with Bryson, you don't have that option to just send him down. You'd have to put him through waivers, and I don't know if this team wants to lose a little bit of organizational depth right there.
Keep
Metza,
in mind they re-signed Jacob Bryson. I know different management in the middle of last season. That's how highly they are on Jacob Bryson. They made sure before the end of the season that they locked him up for this year.
thanks, Kevin.
Um,
Yeah, I don't know why they did that. He's still not been good. He played 4 minutes against Pittsburgh in the last game before the break. That's how bad he was. 4 minutes for a defenseman. And that weakness just puts undue stress on your top four guys. So you either, I don't know, waive Bryson. I doubt they do that, but more likely than not, they will just send Metza back down to the minors. And then in terms of names, Logan Stanley has probably been the most popular one out there. He's a big burly defenseman out in Winnipeg. He's on an expiring contract, so you would have to lock him up. I don't know if you could afford him going forward because from the sounds of it, he wants maybe $5 million, right around the Matthias Samuelson range. And he has been having a career year, so how sustainable is his playing style? I don't care about that. The way he's performed so far this season, Logan Stanley, he's been great for Winnipeg. He's been one of the few bright spots. That's someone I'd be going after immediately.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's one of the top names out there. You got to do something, right? And too often I'm seeing Sabres fans just, oh, we can't touch anything. We cannot afford to lose this team's chemistry. As good as they've been playing, they're 5 points in the playoffs right now. Me and you both, we've watched the Sabres our entire lives. Do we have any confidence in this team making the playoffs right now? No,
No.
not at all. And if it was any other team in the league, yeah, they're on fire. Like they'll make it. Like even if they lose a couple out of the break, they'll still be fine, right? This team, no, this is the Buffalo Sabres. Like we have not witnessed them be a good hockey team. It's just not in their DNA. They don't have a lot of playoff experience on this team either. So down the stretch, these guys that have never been in these situations, they're going to be quivering. I mean, there is a ton of pressure, and we saw with a decent amount of this core, not the same team, but a few years ago when they missed the playoffs by 1 point, we saw the same sort of thing, right? The guys were not prepared. So even a Rasmus Dahlin, never been in the playoffs, never been in a situation where they had must-win games to make the playoffs. Does his play go down? Goaltending wise, Alex Lyon has a little bit, right? But UPL, he's never been in a situation like that. Does he start to buff for a little bit in games he plays in? It's going to be tough. And I think Lindy Ruff certainly helps, right? A very experienced coach who has a ton of playoff experience. That should help, right? Your leader has been there, opposed to a guy like Don Granato, for example, who has no idea what he's doing when it comes to the playoffs. But that's going to be big. I just, I cannot see this team not taking at least one big swing. And I think that's why you get Yarmo for the situation, right? A guy who is in love with taking risky big trades. They got to do something. And I'm anticipating something maybe a little unexpected to happen, but no matter what, we have to remember we cannot judge it right away because the JJ Paterka trade, I was 100% against that as well as a lot of other people. And so far, so good.
So when I view a potential trade, you seem to be a little more pessimistic than I am, and I'm usually the pessimist of the two of
Mm-hmm.
us. Um, I don't view it as this team, I don't trust them to win must-win games because if we assume that, then how the heck have they been winning consistently over the
Mm-hmm.
last 2 months, given how tight the Eastern Conference has been? If we didn't trust this team to snatch up these must-win games, then they shouldn't have been winning as much as they were because every single game it feels like for the last 3 weeks have been a must-win games. And for the most part, this team has won. They have shown us they can win these games, Cal. So I'm going to disagree with you on that. I view a trade as more of a management saying, hey, we really like what you guys are doing down here. Let's give you a little bit more help to
Mm-hmm.
push you over the finish line. We believe in you. We trust you. We're going to get you over that hump, and we believe that one more piece can do it. Now, I just worry because it's a real thing. If you move out a guy like Jack Quinn, someone that's been there for a while, does that unsettle the locker room? We've seen moments like this where teams have too many changes too fast. I don't think that's going to be a problem. The Sabres will be one and done, I believe, in terms of trades. Just move Jordan Greenway onto LTIR once he
Mm-hmm.
probably takes on this third surgery of the season. Jeez, three
Yeah,
surgeries.
rough.
That opens up a little bit of cap. You can afford a guy like Logan Stanley, who's only making $1 million this season. So that's where I see the Sabres going. But it's got to be more of an addition rather than, oh, we don't trust you guys. No, we do trust you guys, and here you go. Here's a little bit more. I look at this like, let's peer over to San Jose. They just brought in Kiefer Sherwood. That was Mike Greer saying to his locker room, look, we didn't expect to be here, but I want to help get you guys to a winning spot because that's good for a culture, that's good for this franchise. So they brought in Kiefer Sherwood. Sabres must have the same mindset. They need to make a move or two. It doesn't have to be anything too crazy, just more depth. Honestly, more depth for this team.
Yeah, and the players have to expect a big moves coming too, right? Because that's one of the main reasons a lot of people are like, why does this team all of a sudden play harder and look better under a new GM? That should have nothing to do with it. The collective unit knows that this guy is going to be willing and able to make this team better at the trade deadline. Whereas under a Kevin Adams guy, they're like, even if we get there, is this guy really going to get us what we need
Right.
to, and again, Kevin Adams, he's going to find himself another NHL job after this season. As long as this team doesn't implode, his roster has actually, I'm not saying a GM job, of course, but a scout or something, right? Like he was completely written off when he got fired. Absolute joke, no respect, whatever. He's managed to kind of save face a little bit with this team, but this team has played hard. They've gotten to the point where they're at the deadline in a really good spot. Now they have the GM that can and will make the move. They're expecting a move like that. The only thing is, like you said, blowing up the locker room. We see the Rangers, a prime example of the mess that organization has become, and just getting rid of guys, and the whole JT Miller situation, giving him captain, and then they get rid of Panarin for about maybe a couple potatoes. I mean that was a terrible trade for them, and I know the Kings are in a decent spot this year. They need to do a little bit more, I think, to be a legitimate threat in the West. But that was a
Yeah.
good trade for them, especially doubling down and re-signing Panarin. Why does Panarin want to go to LA? I don't know. Maybe he's a big Kopitar fan and wanted to spend his final few games with him. I don't know, but yeah, interesting trade there. We've heard a lot of rumors, and the biggest one coming out on the Alex Tuck situation, right? That the Sabres do not want to make their team worse in an Alex Tuck move or any other move. One of the dumbest quotes I've ever heard. What team would want to make their team worse going into a playoff situation, right? I'll never understand these vague reports, and it just seems like everyone's all over the place with the Sabres. I don't think anyone knows what they're going to do, and I think Yarmo's gearing up for a big move coming up soon.
Yeah, what I think the quote was referencing is that they're not going to trade away Tuck. Tuck is not going
Yeah.
anywhere. Doesn't matter if the Frank Saravallis of the world think that Tuck should be traded for a couple of first round picks that may turn into NHL players in 10 years.
Woo.
Frank Saravalli, get the hell out. You're wrong. Goodbye. Um, the Sabres are going to use and treat Tuck as their own rental. We've heard
Mhm.
this quote so many times, but it's true. Tuck is going to be this team's rental, plus maybe another piece. I think the Sabres have to do it. Now, here's a weird part that I don't think a lot of people remember. It's that theoretically, right? If the Sabres don't make a move, the argument could be from Yarmo and management. Well, Justin Danforth is coming back. He's going to be here real soon. Yuri Kulik, he's back to skating. Still a ways off, but we expect him to come back before the season ends. Why would we make another move and just congest our lineup even more?
Yeah, and I could see that. The only argument I have to that is right now you have Noah Ostlund, Hellenius, and Roseanne if they redact the AHL drop downs that they had before the Olympic break as a line. If now again you get a little bit healthier, but if two of those guys are still in that, do you trust those guys down the stretch and in the playoffs? Physical games, playoff NHL games. I know Sabres fans watching this might not really know how the game changes, but it is night and day difference, right? A playoff NHL game versus a regular season NHL game. Doesn't Noah Ostlund still bring what he brings to the table in an NHL playoff game where it's more physical? He doesn't have as much room to shoot. A Hellenius who looked good his first couple of games but doesn't. Those guys, as much as we've complained about prospect hoarding and not bringing them up, the playoffs are kind of where you say, all right, prospects, not your time. We bring in the veterans and maybe you'll get a game or two. So I think that could be a counter argument to that. Justin Danforth maybe means a little bit more than a Hellenius in the playoffs, as crazy as that sounds, but I think you got to get a little bit better than that. I know I'm the biggest Danforth guy right? I got the Eichel shirts printed over with Danforth. We'll be going to another game if he comes back with that shirt on. But yeah, you can't say, right, like Justin Danforth cannot be the reason you're unwilling to make a trade to make your team better.
That's fair. I do trust, for the record, Ostland playing in the
Yeah.
playoffs. He's shown the most of the three guys. He's the most developed of our prospects right now up here in Buffalo. Um, Roseanne, I don't like his game. I see why they only play him 6 minutes, and maybe they just don't give him enough time to really settle in. But he hasn't been very effective in the last few weeks. Consta Helenius, like you said, great start to his career, but yeah, we need to make sure we don't have an AHL lineup going into the playoffs. That's not going to work out. Against Carolina, won't be great. I'm just going to say
No.
that we'll lose a bunch of 2-1 games and it's going to be very frustrating because we'll look back and go, if only we had another scoring piece. If only we had another piece on the back end. So, yeah, I do think we make a move just more so for a defender. Hopefully, Josh Norris comes back and stays healthy. This is so crucial to any mapping out a trade deadline here for Buffalo. If Josh Norris can stay healthy, the makeup of this team looks instantly different, immediately different. Now you have Tage, Josh, and McLeod as the spine of this team. And when they're all healthy, this team wins 10 games in a row, okay? When they are all healthy. The problem is they are just never healthy at the same time. I'm looking at you, Josh, made of glass, Mr. Glass Josh. Um, Kale, any final thoughts though before we head on out?
Uh, I gotta get your prediction. Who's winning gold? Men's ice hockey. What team's doing it?
Canada. I hate to say
Canada.
it. Yeah, Canada. I think they'll pull another Sidney Crosby in '09 against Ryan Miller moment where
Ugh.
they'll
We seeing Canada gold, USA silver. Is that what we're projecting here?
yeah, yeah, I'm saying Canada gold, US silver, and then I don't know, Finland. No, I'll go Sweden. No,
Okay.
I'm torn about this. No, I'm going final pick, Finland as the bronze. Sweden's
Finland's
so good
kind of
though.
taken over on
Yeah.
Sweden in the juniors, and it just seems like there's a little bit of a turning. Sweden always kind of dominated them. I don't want to get political here at all, so remove all politics from this. I wish there was a Russian hockey team this year for the Olympics because you need that heel team, that team that everyone kind of is against whatever, but like there's so many good Russian hockey players in the league, and I look at these mocks of the. I mean, that's instantly a gold medal contender. You add them to the mix, it's must see TV. It's still going to be very good, still very interesting, coming off the heels of the Four Nations, which was some of the best hockey I've watched in quite some time. So
Eek.
hopefully the Olympics can live up to that. If not, even go past that. But we'll see. I think we're all assuming though that the four teams, Sweden, Finland, USA, and Canada, end up the final four. But you never know. The Czechs are always an option. Germany, JJP going over there, always an option as well. But
We
yeah,
don't support
it'll be
Germany
interesting.
anymore.
Yeah, with Paterka gone, there's no one to root for. Remember Yoki Haru, another former Sabre, going to get the mitts in, and unfortunately, Sabres down to two players, no UPL anymore. So just
Right.
Sweden with Dahlin and Tage with USA. Last question I'll ask you: Tage Thompson, Team USA. How many goals throughout the entire tournament? Does he score one? Does he get a few? What are
I
you thinking?
say he gets 3 goals. Three
Whew,
goals in the tournament.
okay.
So he'll have a bit of a heater.
I like it. That
Three
would be a
goals.
very good performance. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he'll kind of this small space works for him. He can dangle, especially against a team like Italy. He'll go crazy.
Yeah.
He will go nuts. So that's my predictions. And folks, drop your Olympic predictions in the comment section down below. Make sure to like and subscribe here. Uh, Engage with us in the comment section. Want to keep going with Buffalo Talk Center. We love doing this. We hope you love it too. I am Don. This is Cal. This was episode Rasmus Dahlin uh, of Buffalo Talk Center. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we hope to see all of you whenever the heck we want to post again in a few weeks. We'll see. Maybe the Sabres will have made a trade by then. We'll figure that out at some point. But anyways, thanks for watching. Goodbye.